You know, I hate how the lighting kind of makes me look like I'm Jesus. Anyways, the Nameless Narcissist here once again. A simple man diagnosed with MPD, talking about the things that go on in my head and trying to clear up some of those misconceptions about how that happens. Keep in mind, I am no clinician, so I can only speak to my own experiences. But if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Anyways, I got a really good comment today, and it was basically asking, why doesn't somebody with MPD just be nice? Because that's a much more effective way to be able to garner the self-esteem juice that we need, as opposed to being manipulative and vindictive and whatever, right? So, again, I think this is really important to cover because it has some assumptions about the disorder that it doesn't have an assumption about the disorder. It's just missing key pieces of why we people with my disorder function the way we do. So to get into it, the first thing is if there is somebody who is, and this is, again, this isn't going to be everybody's experience with MPD, but it is very much true to mine. The first thing is, it's because we, at some level, know how machiavellian and sometimes mean-spirited and distrustful we are. And we have this innate assumption that everybody around us also is, because we assume that everybody else is just like us. And that's just kind of a weird societal thing that we are all, that we all kind of pretend not to be, I guess. We think everybody acts selfishly and only for their own means and only get attention and only to socialize and only to work towards those goals. So it becomes difficult to be able to get out of that headspace because we have a really hard time being able to imagine how other people's motivations may be different. A really good example is, and like this is kind of where the grandiosity comes in to a certain degree. I once made a Reddit post and they left a comment that was really good about this, where they said that it's like you're walking a garden path, right? And you're looking around and you're like sprinting down, right? And everybody's walking around with their couples and shit, looking at the flowers, having a great time. And you're running down this path thinking, all these idiots are so stupid. I'm gonna get to the end so much faster than they are. They're so slow. It's this innate assumption about everybody else based on how we personally experience the world. But the second point, after that, when you kind of, in my experience, when you just kind of grow up a little bit and kind of realize, like, not so much of what you are, but how inefficient it is to be a scheming person, you do realize that it's much more effective to be nice. I think this tracks with a lot of people's experiences. They'll see people with MPD out and about, and they're like, because you hear this all the time, it's like, right, oh, when they're in public, they're great, but when they're at home, they're like horrible. And that really comes from a place of, we know what the best thing to do is in order to get the affirmation we crave. So when we're in public, we're like, oh, how's it going, blah, blah, blah. We're being like super friendly, and that's not coming from a place of, oh, I'm exploiting this person, I want to use this person to get my needs met. It's more of a place of, it's not that like malicious, right? It's just kind of like, I know what I am, and like, I'll be kind to these people, and they'll admire me, and like, everyone wins. And I do think that's a healthy way to cope with a disorder if you do have it. Another thing is like, so, but to touch on that, why people see a lot of more ugly and destabilized parts of us when we're in these relationships is that kind of plays into the hiding of the self, right? So it's like we are trying to hide the fact that we think so lowly of the world and lowly of ourselves too, consciously or unconsciously, and that we are actually like this nice person. It's effectively masking, right? We're not saying anything that we really think about anybody. We're not saying anything resembling our true beliefs. We're like just trying to fit into society for admiration. And we try to do that in relationships too, because we do know at some level it's not acceptable to act the way that we do. And then, but when you're in a relationship, it kind of starts to break down. You can't keep doing that all the time when you're actually a neurotic as fuck person. So when we're in these relationships, people are our partner is starting to see the real us, right? That we are like, we're in a lot of cases extremely dysregulated or cold and callous and don't think how people think we should think. Not to say that all thoughts that someone with MPD have are acceptable, but I think you know what I mean. And they're seeing us. They're seeing the part of us that we hate because we think deep down that we are worthless. We think that if anybody sees a real us, they're going to leave, basically. So when people see that real part of us, it brings out a lot of shame. And for the people who really haven't worked on themselves, either they, and I mean, hell, people who have worked on themselves too, because I'm still guilty of this. It's really unconscious when this happens in a relationship. We start feeling shame over being seen, and we start at some level fearing that they're going to leave us. And instead of accepting that shame and being like, this is coming from us, again, especially when we're unaware, we project that shame onto these people. It's like, this person is causing the shame, right? This person, like, something that I always, like, in my head, almost universally when I was in relationships, is I would think, they're judging the fuck out of me right now. They think I'm disgusting, weak, pathetic, they hate me. And, which is, like, untrue. They saw me, and I made these assumptions about how they were seeing me, and then I would, like, kind of take it out on them. I get angry because I would think, they're judging me. And they weren't. They objectively probably, I don't know, I guess you can't really say for sure, but they probably weren't. They were probably like, whatever, like he can be moody, or, you know, or, oh, he's being vulnerable, or whatever. But I was like so convinced that that they were judging every aspect of me. This came out a lot during sex, even. Like afterwards, I'd feel like so disgusted with myself for having engaged in that. I'm starting to learn that shame with sex isn't as universal as I thought, but whatever. And so then this turns into us trying to kind of defend ourselves against that vulnerability, where we're like, oh, they're like seeing the real us, we hate ourselves, and we're trying to, and we don't want them to. So when they get too close, we kind of start lashing out and trying to push them away a little bit. And if it gets to a point that it's really bad, we start doing things so that either that we still have control of the situation, right? This relationship is not ending because somebody's leaving me and proving that I'm not worth anything. They are leaving because I made the decision. Whether I break it off myself or I force them to leave, I'm still in control. So like the underlying, and the thing is, because of our reactions to shame and being seen, it reinforces those innate thought processes in our mind. We're not thinking, oh, I'm gonna hurt this person because they saw me. We're thinking, this person is seeing how worthless I am. I need to basically prove that they're worthless first. And then this reinforces our fear of abandonment because we're starting to lash out at them, or in a lot of cases, we're feeling ashamed and trying to cover it up with anger, or that's usually unconscious, but you know, sometimes it's sort of conscious. It's weird. It's in a weird in-between. For me, at least, it's in a weird in-between between conscious and unconscious, where at some level, I kind of know that's what I'm doing. Not always. A lot of times it's very unconscious. But when it's conscious, it's not really conscious. It's like at some level I know, but not really. Or I'm refusing to admit it to myself. That's what I meant. And so we lash out like that. We start pushing them away. And then instead of being like, oh, my actions to my shame push them away, it's, oh, this person saw me and now they're leaving me. And this reinforces the unhealthy mindset of anytime somebody knows the real me, they're going to leave. And this applies to, and it's unfortunate because we pathologically hide ourselves, because self-esteem regulation and positive affirmation are by far the most important thing. And so we're always masking, we're always convinced we're worthless, and we're trying to use people to basically tell us we're not. But I kind of want to end this off by saying that guy who pointed this out, he's 100% correct. Not just in terms of getting the admiration we need externally, but just being happy and getting our needs met. It's very important that we do learn to be vulnerable. We do learn to find somebody that we earnestly trust. That we do find somebody that we can share all that stuff with, and they will accept us the way that we are, et cetera, et cetera. Like, we're always going to have issues with our self-esteem. We're always going to some degree hide ourselves, right? But that can be worked against. We can go into a mindset of, oh, like, there's some people I can trust. We're probably going to still always have just kind of a negative view. What is happening with the sun? Oh, there's a tree blocking it. Got it. I was like, it's like going on and off. I'm sorry if anybody, I just kind of assume people just listen to my voice instead of watching it. So I'm sorry if anybody is very bothered by the fact that like the sun's trying to give us a seizure, but whatever. But anyways, yeah, he is right though. This guy is right. By being nice to people, not only do we get the self-esteem regulation we need, but also by trying to be honest and fully true with people, we can eventually learn to kind of heal and everything. And that's really hard to internalize. I mean, hell, I'm still trying to internalize it. I have one friend who I am very comfortable with, very trusting of. And even with her, there's parts of myself I can't bring myself to show. When I'm ever neurotic around her, I still feel ashamed. I know her well enough and trust her well enough, because I think very highly of her, that I don't let that come out as much. But it's still to this day an issue, because one of my core beliefs is I fundamentally am not lovable. When it's like the real me, whatever that means, because it feels like the only time I'm the real me is when I'm completely emotionally dysregulated, if I'm being honest. Well, hopefully, as I go on in treatment, and hopefully as some of you, because I do have some of my viewers who one of us, Cluster B gang, rise up, that over time we will learn to be able to trust people like that. I mean, maybe it won't. I don't know what recovery really looks like for NPD. I've came a long way, but I don't even feel like I'm even close to being done. I know at some level, like, this won't change completely, but we'll see. Thank you to that guy I completely forget who it was. If you're watching this, dude, leave a comment if you want to be seen and have credit for that comment, because that was a really smart observation, honestly, and I'm glad that I got to make a video on this. Anyways, I was going to say ciao for some reason. That was really weird. Have a good day and take your fucking meds. Please like, comment, and subscribe, please.